Monster Hunter World, the fifth core installment in a series that spans over 2 decades now, known for its staple of, well, hunting monsters. The game was released way back in 2018, specifically on the 9th of August, meaning that this game is now over 6 years old, which is quite an impressive feat, especially considering the active player base that it still has. And it's easy to tell that the active player base absolutely loves the game, considering the 258,000 reviews, most of which being positive on Steam. With a rock-solid legacy behind its back and a promising future ahead of its release, there was basically no way that Monster Hunter World was going to fail in any way, shape, or form. And as such, it was able to maintain its relevancy even into the modern era in 2024. With Steam sales frequently showcasing this game, it serves as a crucial entry point to the series for many players, myself included. Mostly playing solo, but occasionally playing with friends as well. I managed to finish the main storyline in just under 50 hours, which funnily enough happens to be the average playtime, so bang on that for me. And basically, as I'm recording this script, I've actually started the Iceborne content, which is an expansion pack that was released in 2020. The Iceborne content basically includes a whole bunch of new monsters to hunt, some of which are revived from previous games in the series, as well as an expansion to the already immense crafting tree that the game sports. So if you're a veteran hunter, please do understand that I'm not an expert on the Monster Hunter series. I'm just enjoying Monster Hunter World and want to share the love, alright? Well, let's stop beating around the bush and get straight into the meat and potatoes of the video. Welcome to a new player's thoughts on Monster Hunter World. As you may expect from a game that goes by the name of Monster Hunter, the combat in the game needs to be pretty on point. And if those previously mentioned 250,000 positive reviews are anything to go by, it does a pretty damn good job of making you feel like you're hunting those massive beasts that you're seeing on screen. You see, throughout the game, the combat system doesn't really change, so to speak. Most games would typically have you progress through a skill tree or some form of upgrade system in order to make your character stronger. But in Monster Hunter, experience is king. And not experience points, but actual experience in each hunt that you as a person and player gain. This includes learning and adapting to the movesets of the monsters that you hunt, as well as their retreat patterns whenever they run away from a certain fight. Sometimes even environmental factors need to be taken into account. But recognizing and taking advantage of these openings and opportunities that are presented to you throughout the game is a pretty important skill that's needed, especially once you get into the Iceborne content. But I mean, that's not to say that you cannot spice up the way you play the game. You see, there are a plethora of different weapon types that you can choose from, each of which having their own moveset and playstyles that completely revolutionize the way that you approach each hunt and your role in them. Personally, I've spent a lot of time using the gun lance. And if I'm going to be completely honest, it was the visuals that got me sold on it initially, but I did like the playstyle in the end as well, allowing you to play a bit like a tank, blocking some incoming damage from the front, but still being able to dish it out with some explosive barrages as well. And this is just one of 14 different weapon types that you can pick throughout the entire game, each of which having their own massive crafting trees behind them so that way you can exploit weaknesses just that little bit better for each monster. Certain weapon types prioritize dealing more damage but being more vulnerable to attacks, while others may prioritize speed and versatility. So whether you like to be on the front lines dealing damage and facing off with the enemy head first, or if you like to sit back a little bit more at a distance with a bowgun or an actual bow and do damage from afar, there will always be a playstyle that is suited for you. And if you're struggling to find out how to use a weapon properly or just want to know what the best combos are, there are plenty of online guides that you can refer to as well. Much like a weapon crafting system, the armor crafting system also affects the gameplay, giving you certain skills which improve your proficiency with different weapon types, as well as giving you access to the decoration system, which lets you specialize just that little bit more and go for specific skills that you may really want with a different armor set. So overall, there's an extreme amount of customization in terms of your playstyle and how you approach the game, as well as a lot of time that you can spend learning and preparing to fight certain monsters. So the combat is very rewarding and very fun to play through. Honestly, never really felt like a drag throughout the entire main storyline, and then there's just even more stuff to do in the Iceborne content. So, a very strong start for Monster Hunter World. As you may expect, the monsters in Monster Hunter are pretty iconic, with each of them being visually distinct from a design perspective. While I did touch on these things in the combat section, I felt that they were just too cool to not have their own dedicated part of the video to them. You can tell just by looking at the monsters that each and every one is made with love and care, boasting some pretty damn amazing visuals. The early game monsters are easy enough to fight and learn how to play the game against them, while some of the later monsters are just an absolute pain in the ass and require you to either rethink or adapt your strategy in order to fight them a little bit easier. Or if you're like me, you'll just simply struggle against Nergigante every single time and bash your skull in trying to think of a way to, learn a new weapon or whatnot. Fighting this guy with Gunlance, pain in the ass. That's not to say that these fights are designed poorly at all, I'm just really bad at the game. But at the same time, while I did struggle so much to beat this guy, the payoff for actually being able to do it at the end is something that I will probably never forget in gaming. I was jumping for joy the first time I beat this man. And besides, I feel like the certain fights, like this one, were designed to be more difficult than the rest in order to challenge you, to make sure that you actually knew what you were doing this whole game and that you learnt the skills that you should have been learning. But unfortunately for me, my brain is smooth and faultless. So while hunting down monsters is rewarding to do just in the first place, there's also a real in-game reason why you should actively be hunting them down to begin with. You see, once you hunt down a monster, you earn some materials that you can harvest from its body, which is a pretty cool functionality in the game that I just wanted to point out here, and you also earn money and research points. The money and the materials can be spent on purchasing new gear, while the research points can be used to do some other things around your base of operations. But you'll probably find that you'll be hunting down monsters just to find that last drop that you needed for the perfect gear set. Remember when I said that you'll get experience as a person and not as a character in the game? Well, let me tell you that practice makes perfect, and if you're trying to get a certain gear set, you're gonna get a lot of practice. Keep in mind that Monster Hunter is technically a type of JRPG despite not having turn-based elements to it, so there will be an element of grinding in this game, and if you don't like grinding, then brother, why are you even here watching a Monster Hunter video? You'll also find that hunting down the same monster multiple times will yield more knowledge in your in-game Wikipedia. Basically, this is the in-game way that you're able to realize what weaknesses a monster has, as well as different areas of the body that are weaker to certain weapon types than others. And this also excludes the elemental factors that should be taken into account, which you also gain knowledge of by hunting the same monster repeatedly. Although if I'm going to be completely honest, usually these elemental factors are pretty obvious to realize at first look. You shouldn't really be surprised when you see that the beast that breathes fire is weak to water. Monsters can also occasionally have fights for territory. Now, I don't think this actually changes too much in-game, other than, just a chance to deal more damage without having to tank the aggro, or maybe even just allow the scuffle to happen and see who gets hurt more. Realistically, I don't know why I'm mentioning this too much, I just thought it was cool. But if you do find that you're struggling too much to beat a specific monster, it's alright because you can always call in for backup. And this leads me perfectly into one of the main features of the game, the multiplayer. The Monster Hunter series has always prided itself on its superb multiplayer, and Monster Hunter World follows suit, allowing you to share the exact same amount of fun that you would have had playing solo with your friends. And even if you don't have friends to actually play the game with, you can still find people online through public lobbies and the matchmaking system. Due to the way that each of the weapons in the game functions, Monster Hunter develops this unique philosophy where everybody should be involved in all aspects of the hunt at all times. Even if you specialize in a support type build, maybe taking the hunting horn or something to heal other people with, you're still going to be involved in dealing the damage and still going to be involved in the hunting, meaning that everybody always does their fair share of damage regardless of your playstyle. I should also mention that there should be absolutely no shame in asking other people for help with a certain hunt, because the health of the monsters scale depending on the amount of people that you have in your lobby, meaning that you shouldn't feel like you're cheesing a fight just because you've gotten your high hunter rank friend to help you out. In fact, getting experienced and veteran players to help you out in a fight is something that the community actively recommends you do, and is part of what makes the Monster Hunter experience so enjoyable. In fact, it's such a core part of the game's philosophy that you're actually encouraged to do this in the middle of a mission. You see, you have the opportunity to light what's called an SOS flare that essentially alerts other hunters within the same multiplayer lobby as you, and perhaps even beyond the same multiplayer lobby, that you're going to need some assistance. And there are players who actively listen to these SOS requests and do come and help out. Outside of this, there is also automatic matchmaking as well, meaning that other people can join your lobby as long as you're within the same session as them. The default option for getting into a multiplayer session is matchmaking, so you can be pretty well assured that those players that are joining in your lobby in the middle of a hunt without you lighting an SOS flare are pretty reasonably the same strength as you, or at least in the same part of the game. And yes, if you prefer to play solo, don't worry, you can always turn this setting off. And if you do happen to prefer playing solo, then don't worry about it, because you can still use a Grimalkine buddy, also known as your Palico. Basically, your Palico is just this cool looking cat thing that has a couple of abilities, such as being able to heal you, or giving you some battle buffs and doing some other things as well. And really just gives you a little bit of assistance, you know, detracting some aggro and giving you some time to actually heal and run around in the middle of a hunt. They're not quite as effective as having another player in the lobby, but I mean, they are still extremely useful. And yes, if you do truly want a completely solo hunt, 100% alone, no Palicos, no nothing, you can run without him. But I mean, realistically, why? Why would you not want this guy? So yes, never feel like you're cheesing the game just because you're playing multiplayer. It's part of the core experience and realistically is how the game is intended to be played. So try and get as many of your friends on this game as you can. Because I mean, when this game goes on sale on Steam, Jesus Christ, it's a damn good bargain. And the amount of enjoyment that you can get with all of your mates is just peak for the price, man. It's such a good deal. There's a lot of character customization, which admittedly isn't really my thing, but I know it's some people's thing. So, I mean, you know, it's there if you want it. Like, you could probably spend hours customizing your character's appearance here. I mean, I didn't really. I just wanted to call mine Bazinga and Sheldon because I thought it'd be really funny. Yeah, I don't know why I made this a chapter even in the video. I just thought it was funny, so. I could probably ramble on for hours about all of the systems and mechanics that I didn't cover in this 10-minute long video that I really just absolutely loved throughout the game. But unfortunately, I just simply don't have the time or the patience to edit that all together or go out and get the footage. Blah, blah. You know what I mean? There's a lot more to this game than what I've described, and there's a lot more fun to be had with it. Like, there's this whole grappling system where you grapple onto monsters and you can slingshot stuff at them that I haven't even talked about in this video. There's a whole bunch of other things you can get just out in the open world, farming resources, collecting bone piles, blah, blah, blah. There's just so much stuff in here that I can't fit it all into one short video covering everything. Now, obviously, the grindy nature of this game isn't going to be for everyone, but I still do think that it's very much worth a try, especially for the price that it can go to when it's on sale. I've already shown it before. It's about $15 in my currency. And in US dollars, it'll probably be about 10 at its lowest. So, you know, it's just absolutely worth a shot if you have the spare time and you're just looking for something that could potentially entertain you. I will warn you though, Monster Hunter World does have the potential to spiral out of control and will absolutely allow you to sink several hundred hours into your game. I haven't yet, but that's because I actually forgot about the Iceborne content once I beat the final boss of the main story, and I didn't even realize there was an extra half to the game that I hadn't even touched. That's also kind of why I wanted to make this video in the first place, because I completely forgot about the Iceborne content and needed a reason to start getting back into it and get some footage and actually play the game. So would I recommend it? Absolutely. 100%. There's not a single person that I wouldn't recommend this to for the low price of 15 Australian dollar it is. Mainly because even if you didn't like it and you don't love it, what did you lose anyway? 15 bucks? It's not that big of a price. Especially when you consider it to the average price of games nowadays, releasing at like, what, $110 and then never going on sale? Realistically, this game's age doesn't hold it back from anything, so you know what I'm getting at. It's a very fun game and absolutely would recommend it. Okay, I don't think I've got anything too important left to say about Monster Hunter World that I've already haven't said 1,000 times over, you know, good game, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to do something that I wanted to test out after seeing it on another YouTube video somewhere. But apparently the buttons like glow and stuff when you say them, so hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Are they glowing? Hit the subscribe button. Are they glowing? Are they? I don't know. I'm just really curious. Anyway, what else? There'll be more Lethal Company videos coming out next week. I just wanted to try and splice these types of videos into the upload schedule a little bit more often, maybe once every 2 weeks or so. You know, just something a little bit longer and more well thought through than just a gameplay highlights video. Anyway, that'll be it from me, and I'll see you lot in the next video. Peace.